What's up guys, Max here, back and a little late on this one, but for good reason. The biggest news of the day, of course, is the fact that Dragon Ball FighterZ has gotten a huge update in terms of the characters that are going to be in the game, and the content that's going to be in the game as well. Again, totally my bad for not covering this stuff earlier, but it was hella my wife's birthday. I've got a pretty good excuse. So Dragon Ball FighterZ is going to be coming up upon another big media reveal at Gamescom in the next few days or so. I believe in that time frame we're probably going to get a pure gameplay trailer featuring the characters we've seen more of before, probably see a bunch more of Piccolo, probably see a bunch more of Krillin, and maybe a whole bunch more of future Trunks. The beta for the game is on the horizon just about a month away from today, and that beta is going to feature all the 6 characters that were at E3, including those 3 for a total of 9 characters. So there's a lot that's about to happen for Dragon Ball FighterZ. But the big stuff is what happened earlier today in terms of a bunch of Japanese press sites and magazines showing off a bunch of news and information about game modes and characters, and there's just a lot to talk about here, so let's get right into it. The first bit is character reveals. This is possibly one of the most interesting ones because it is sort of contradictory to what we were hearing from the developers in the PR of the game in terms of the character selection. A lot of the characters they were mentioning in the previous press interviews and pretty much everything like that were mentioning the fact that they want to avoid multiple form Saiyan characters, or characters that are in one lower level power form and then you choose a higher level power form. And it was believed they sort of wanted to avoid doing something like that so that we would get a more unique roster and cast of members and characters from the Dragon Ball universe, because the roster selection isn't bound to a specific saga of Dragon Ball in any way. It can come from absolutely anywhere, the movies, the non-canon, everything like that. But the first 2 characters that were announced were Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta and Super Saiyan Blue Goku. So it is completely going up against a lot of what they were saying, but at the same time, depending on how you look at it, it's either good news or bad news. Technically, these are clone characters of the characters that are already in the roster right now, the first couple that were announced. So they're going to share a lot of things, most likely animations and stuff like that. But the thing I'm most concerned about is gameplay. We know there's a lot of Shoto clones in characters like Street Fighter, but then you come to something like Street Fighter 4 where you had Shoto clones technically of characters like Oni compared to Akuma, and then Evil Ryu compared to Ryu. Not only do they artistically look different, they also play a lot different as well, and they're honestly some of my favorite aspects of the Street Fighter 4 series, which are these really interesting hybrid Shoto characters, and I'm hoping that's the case for the Super Saiyan Blue versions of Goku and Vegeta. Based on the little bit of information we can pull this from the magazine scans, Goku is mentioned as being an all-rounder, dashing in and launching your opponent in the air. Goku has a lot of tools to continue the onslaught, but be careful, he's a fast character that requires practice before you can take full advantage. His meteor attack, the Kaioken 10 times Kamehameha, and some stuff looks fairly similar to what Goku sort of does in his regular Super Saiyan form that's already in the game. The biggest tell from this is that the character is going to be a lot faster. It's going to be more difficult to control Super Saiyan Blue Goku, which is a good thing considering the fact that that leads me to think his gameplay is going to be a lot different. I only hope so. I hope he's not just like regular Goku we already have in the game, or Super Saiyan Goku, where he's just sped up and does faster attacks but does less damage. I want to see some dramatically different stuff, and we kind of get a hint at that when we go over and look at Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta. On his side, it mentions that his signature fighting style appears here in full force. He's got destructive combos, leads into explosive earth strikes, while leaving your defensive tactics at the door. Vegeta is here to play, sort of giving me the impression that this character is going to be limited on defense, but really high on offense. So we got 2 characters that are already very similar to their initial versions, although Super Saiyan versions and then Super Saiyan Blue versions, but it seems like they're trying to change things mechanically about them. Goku, for example, might be a lot faster but sacrifices damage, and Vegeta might do a lot more damage but sacrifices his defense. I'm just really curious in terms of their gameplay. I want to see different normals, different specials, stuff like that, and I hope this isn't the way they're going to fill the roster with a lot of characters. And I know there's some that a lot of people would want, like Gohan featured in different ages, but at the same time, I'm really curious to see a very diverse roster, and that's what I care about the most, because the thing that's got me the most hooked about Dragon Ball FighterZ is playing the game and seeing what all the characters do that is different and unique from each other. But we're not even done, because there was even more character announcements that did come out Android 18 and Android 16 will be completely playable, and a big portion of the story mode is going to revolve around the super androids, with specifically Android 16, and we don't know why he's back, and it's going to boil around a story that revolves around super androids of some kind. Instead of going into speculation on the story, because I'm obviously not a story expert on the Dragon Ball lore, I mostly want to talk about what a lot of people's impressions were, because there were some voice lines that some voice actors came out and said that they finished doing lines for Dragon Ball FighterZ, and I believe it was the actor for Android 17. Android 17 is not a playable character in the game. In fact, he is a side character, or technically like an assist in some way, to Android 18 that appears possibly in Supers and possibly other cinematic elements that happen when you do something very dramatic with Android 18. Of course, with the character predictions we put out a bit earlier, I was already assuming that a few of the androids were going to show up in some way. I thought it would be all of them between 16, 17, and 18. We only got 2, and I think there's a very big outcry of people right now for Android 17. I think the character's kind of awesome from the little bit I understand of him, but at the same time, and from what I can tell, they do pretty similar things, Android 17 and 18. So I would kind of be happy, and a lot of people suggested this, like I said, that you can choose one character or the other. I think that'd be kind of neat if one character can swap places with the other, just kind of like a skin swap. But at the same time, a lot of folks are definitely clamoring for a potential Android 17 inclusion in terms of DLC, and there seems to be a big outcry of that right now. So it's Android 17's got his own hardcore fan base, but I do feel Android 18 is the more popular character because she's waifu status, and the game needs more female characters in it, which is a good thing considering the rough state Marvel Infinite is in with very few female characters. Android 16, I'm honestly not surprised, made an appearance into the game. We need more bulky, very big fighters. Right now, all we really have is kind of like Boo, and a little bit of Cell from what I've briefly played of him. But I think Android 16 is going to be a lot different, more like a very lumbering, slow, but extremely damaging style character. The couple screenshots we've seen reference a lot of moves in other Dragon Ball games, so I'm really not surprised because he represents a character archetype, a function, if you will, that really needed to be in the game, at least early on, to have a variety of character archetypes. So it's a good call and very expected one, as we talked about in a previous video. Now, the biggest piece of news comes down to a gameplay mode that was announced. Everyone's been talking to me about this, and is honestly the most exciting thing that's come as a result of this huge update for Dragon Ball FighterZ. It is a brand new online battle mode that has been revealed, playable with up to 6 people. That's right, each person takes control of one character as you fight in 3v3 action, and you have to swap out in real time, meaning that their online system, the beta, potentially all this could be setting up for a network infrastructure that can actually allow 3 players to fight 3 players in an online fighting game, with it being active battle. I don't mean something like King of Fighters 14, where you can do the same thing, have one player take each character, and then there's essentially 6 players fighting each other, but it's not in real time. They take turns as one character dies and comes back. This would be active switching. You need to be on the ball when you press the switch button. The next character comes in, and then, holy hell, you're in control of that dude, and you have to go crazy. I'm super happy about this one, simply because I think the aspect of teaming up with your friends, whether they're on a couch or online, especially in team-based fighting games, is a huge untapped market, and the fact that they're announcing it so early on in this game's development, and Dragon Ball FighterZ might not come out till the summer of next year, and they're already focused on making this a really big thing, that's absolutely awesome. I don't want it to end there. I do hope that there is other party modes that are available. They seem to be ready for 6-player support of some kind. I hope that there's a mode in the future that allows all 3 characters on each side to be on screen at the same exact time, where you can play with each other. It's unbalanced, it's ridiculous, it's just a lot of fun. We saw modes like this in games like Street Fighter Cross Tekken, which I don't even remember the name of it. It allowed all 4 characters to be on the screen at once. It's just really goofy fun. And when you boil it down, that's what should be one of the biggest aspects of a fighting game. You have your hardcore competitive side, and then you should have a bunch of modes that are a lot of stupid fun. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. This 6-player online mode looks like it's going to be a blast. And the fact that we can maybe have 3 players locally in one room going online and fighting all these other people while we take challengers and switch characters and everything like that, just that whole aspect just sounds like a blast, and is something that I definitely hope gets added to other fighting games that are team-based in terms of their online play, in terms of their local play. these types of titles just clamor for the fact that there's a bunch of goofy modes that you can throw in here, and it would be an absolute freaking blast. Either way, a huge day for Dragon Ball FighterZ, a ton of insane announcements I was not expecting in terms of character reveals, some stuff I'm a little concerned about in terms of the Super Saiyan Blue characters that I hope will be alleviated when we do see some gameplay of them, and the androids inclusion was absolutely inevitable, and from this point forward, I'm really curious if they're going to start moving to movie characters, especially the non-canon ones, because that'll alleviate a lot of people's concerns about very unique roster inclusions that don't make a lot of sense, and that's the entire point. Either way, that's all I got for right now. I appreciate your dude's support on the video. Believe it or not, liking it does actually help out a lot, and the fact that you watched this entire thing all the way through means a lot to me. Also, I got a big announcement. There's going to be some pretty big updates for Dragon Ball FighterZ on this channel fairly soon, including a lot of stuff that's going to be happening at Gamescom, as well as potentially some pretty exclusive hands-on gameplay, so I'd like to tell you guys to stay tuned, subscribe, wait for it, because I'm going to try to make it as good as possible and to get it to look as good as possible, and hopefully it should be in the near future. As always, guys, thank you a ton for watching. I'll be back with more Dragon Ball FighterZ updates as soon as it comes through. My name is Max, and I'll see you next time.